You're going to be really happy you clicked on this video because it's going to help you prepare massively for your trip to Brazil. Let's do this. Tip number one, what's an X burger? You're going to be seeing a lot of this in Brazil. If you go to a burger place and you pick up the menu, you're going to see numerous listings for an X burger. What the heck is that? No need to panic. In Brazil, X simply means cheese. The pronunciation of the letter X in Portuguese is X, which actually sounds exactly like a Brazilian saying cheese. So in the interest of saving ink maybe, the Brazilians decided to abbreviate cheese to X, X. And while we're on the subject of cheese, I want to introduce to you one of my favorite cheeses in the whole world. This is requeijão. It's a staple in any Brazilian household. This is a mild tasting cheese and it's very creamy, as you can see. And you can spread it on toast, crackers, and it's also used a lot in cooking. But you know, when you wake up, a little breakfast, spread it on your bread, and wow, I could eat this all day. So this brand of requeijão is Poços de Caldas, but there's a brand of requeijão called catupiry, and it's used all over Brazil in various recipes, such as the world famous coxinha. Whenever I leave Brazil, I do miss this so freaking much. Long live requeijão. By the way, if this is your first time on the channel, I am Gringo and I want to help you find your freedom through travel so that you too can live, what the heck is this? So that you too can live your ultimate adventure just as I have been doing in the past 8 years of my life. And today I'm actually in a place called Piracaia. This was just like an hour-and-a-half drive outside of São Paulo and you're already in this beautiful countryside. Okay, on to tip number 2. This is an important one. Never arrive on time to a party in Brazil. This one actually bothers me a little bit because I'm quite a punctual person outside of Brazil, so I've had to learn my fair share of lessons. So unless you want to arrive while your host is still in the shower or awkwardly help them set up the tables and chairs, do not arrive whenever the host told you to arrive at their party. It's customary to arrive at least an hour late, and there will be people arriving even later than that, so don't be worried about being shamed as a tardy person here in Brazil. If you do arrive on time, you will have to sit alone at the party for an hour. And this is actually the house that we're staying at this weekend, lucky number 38. It's our friend's birthday, so we just rented out this house. And yeah, just having a little pool party in there. Can't really complain. Tip number 3 is all about the kissing culture. You should know that Brazilians greet each other with kisses on the cheek, especially if a man and a woman are greeting each other. In São Paulo, one is enough. In Rio, 2 kisses, 1 on each cheek. And in some states down south, you may even be greeted with up to 3 kisses. And while we're on the subject of kissing, just know that you're going to be seeing a lot of it here in Brazil. Brazilians tend to be okay with PDA, so it's quite common to see people making out at clubs and bars, of course, but also at lunch, in the park, and maybe even on public transport. It's quite a normal thing around here. We're about to go spy on my friends who are having a pretty sick pool party while I'm out here at the lake filming this video. Let's see what they're up to in here. How's it going? Tip number 4 is brush up on your Portuguese, dude. Definitely don't come to Brazil expecting to use your Spanish skills. We don't speak Spanish, we speak Portuguese. While the 2 languages are similar, there's a good chance you will not be understood if you speak Spanish. They are 2 different languages after all. Knowing Spanish will of course help you understand Portuguese, but don't try to use it on the streets as it can be pretty insulting. You wouldn't go to Japan and try to speak Korean, right? And as for English, even though a waiter at an upscale restaurant or a salesman at a fancy shop might speak English, it is not spoken widely by the working class. It's possible that on a night out you will meet people that have really good English, but don't expect to be using it in public transport or at most restaurants. Brush up on your Portuguese. Obrigado. Tip number 5, paying for stuff. You don't necessarily need to walk around with cash here in Brazil, at least not in the major cities. You can pay for pretty much anything on debit or credit card. Even the street vendors have card machines here. When I arrived in Brazil back in November, I went to an ATM and I got some cash out, and that was 5 months ago, and I haven't taken money out since. I've just been using debit and credit card. And while we're on the subject of payments, if you go to a restaurant here in Brazil, there will be a 10% service fee, While it's not obligatory to pay that 10%, pretty much everybody does it. So unless your spaghetti comes out with worms in it, do pay that 10%.
Please, Nick, eat some biscotti. I didn't realize you enjoyed eating worms, Nick. Look, that's...
Tip number 6 is toilet talk. Depending on where you go in Brazil, there's a good chance the pipes will get clogged if you flush the toilet paper down the drain. That's why you'll always see a basket next to the toilet. It's quite common to not flush the toilet paper down the drain, even if you are doing number 2. I realize that can be a little awkward for people that aren't used to it, but if you clog your friend's toilet and have Mr. Hanky swimming around there for a while, that's much more awkward, right? So if you see a basket next to the toilet, make sure and use it. Let's not be running any risks. Tip number 7 is drinks, drinks, drinks. There's a good chance you have already heard of the caipirinha, our world famous cocktail. The traditional one is made with lime, sugar, ice, and cachaça, which is a distilled spirit made from fermented sugarcane juice. Another variation of the caipirinha is the caipirosca. You just switch the cachaça for vodka. So whichever your preference, just make sure you try the caipirinha or caipirosca while in Brazil. Second on the drink list is Guaraná. I actually don't drink a lot of soda at all, but let me tell you, Guaraná is the best soft drink in the entire world. And yes, it's better than Coke. So whenever I am back in Brazil, I try to have as much of it as I possibly can. And if you're at a restaurant, make sure and get it with a wedge of orange. Oh man. Next up, Brazil is all about the juice. I'm talking about natural, organic juice. If you have a walk down the street, you're gonna be seeing a lot of juice vendors, so definitely take advantage of that while in Brazil. Popular juices in Brazil include açaí, orange, passion fruit, watermelon, guava, tamarind, tangerine, pineapple with mint, mango, and Barbados cherry. You really can't go wrong with the juices here in Brazil, and actually the prices are quite appealing most of the time. Tip number 8 is app attack, and I'm actually filming this here at a little place called the Quarantine Garden. So here's a list of must-have apps while in Brazil. None of these are sponsored, by the way, unfortunately. Uber is widely used in Brazil, so make sure you download it before you arrive to the airport because you can actually use it to get from the airport to your accommodation. WhatsApp is going to be your main source of communication with other Brazilians. Absolutely everyone uses it here. You can also use it to contact a lot of businesses, so WhatsApp is going to be incredibly useful for your time here in Brazil. If you're not Brazilian, there's a pretty good chance you've never heard of this app. It's called Zé Delivery, and I use it every single week. It's available in most of the major cities all around the country. Let's say you're going to a friend's house for a barbecue and you really don't feel like stopping at the store before. Just order some Zé Delivery and they will deliver cold beverages straight to your door. You can pay through the app or when the delivery arrives through cash, debit, or credit card. Besides all sorts of alcohol like cold beer and wine, you can also get bags of ice, lighters, peanuts, cup of noodles, playing cards, condoms, and charcoal for your barbecue. It is one of the apps we use most here in Brazil. Next on the list of useful apps is Busser. If you plan on doing any bus trips here in Brazil, definitely download this app. It has heavily discounted trips to all 4 corners of the country, and it's the only bus app that I use here in Brazil. They also give you a lot of bus options, which is pretty cool because you can pay cheaper for a more modest bus, or you can travel in full comfort mode with a full recliner that is massaging your back the whole way through. I actually went on one of those buses on my last trip to Rio, and when I arrived in Rio, I didn't want to get off the bus because it was so damn comfortable. So make sure and download Busser for your bus trips in Brazil. As far as dating apps go in Brazil, Tinder is alive and well here in Brazil, but honestly, I haven't really been using it because I feel like it's gone a little downhill in recent years. I would suggest that you use Bumble instead, and there are actually a lot of people on the platform here in Brazil. But hey, if you want to cover more ground, just use both, I guess. Tip number 9, tons to see. Brazil is absolutely massive, and there's just no way you can see it all in one trip, or one lifetime for that matter. I've lived in Brazil for about 20 years of my life, and there's still so much I want to see in this country. The first thing you should know is that Brazil is so much more than Rio and São Paulo. Rio is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and it's definitely worth your time. And São Paulo is extremely underrated with huge amounts of culture and culinary delights. And by the way, let me remind you that the capital of Brazil is not Rio or São Paulo. It's Brasília in Brazil's federal district. Anyways, so many spots are overlooked by tourists visiting Brazil. I'm actually dying to see some of them, like the Lençóis Maranhenses National Park in the northeastern state of Maranhão, and Chapada Diamantina with its awe-inspiring cliffs and mountain ranges. In the southern state of Santa Catarina, you have Florianópolis, or Floripa as it's commonly known, and let me tell you, that is one of my favorite places in this whole country. So whether you're looking to just chill on some pretty amazing beaches, go for incredible hikes, get your surf on, or just enjoy the freshest seafood, Floripa might be the place for you. I could honestly spend the rest of this video talking about Floripa, but I'd rather suggest you watch this video where I show you around Floripa for 3 days. So just click on that video and I'll see you over there in 3, 2, 1.